The Witcher 3 absolutely owns. You know this, I know this, but one positive trait that is often overlooked is just how funny it can be. So with that in mind then, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 hilarious Witcher 3 quests you totally missed. Number 10, Shock Therapy. At a cave in Ard Skellig, Geralt will encounter a druid who asks for assistance. He'll inform you that a fellow druid, Egil, has suddenly and mysteriously gone mute. With none of their spells or potions doing the trick, he enlists the help of a witcher to scare Egil, since eliciting strong emotions is said to be a cure for whatever ailment he has. By the time players arrive at this point in the game, they will of course be accustomed to receiving strange requests, so nothing seems too out of the ordinary at first. And with the promise of a rare Gwent card as payment, the job is pretty much impossible to refuse, unless you hate Gwent of course, in which case you need to get a grip. What follows then is Geralt playing cruel pranks on the druid to annoy him as much as possible, extinguishing the fire after he lights it, setting some angry wasps on him, and rattling pots and pans when he falls asleep will all do the trick here. The druid will eventually speak again, but will be deeply upset with you and your shenanigans. And that's because it turns out that the druid was undergoing a vow of silence, which you were just tricked into breaking for a laugh. But hey, at least that new Gwent card will help alleviate the guilt, am I right? Number 9, Goodness Gracious Great Balls of Granite. Not only does this side quest have an incredible pun title, Goodness Gracious Great Balls of Granite sees Geralt of Rivia set out on one of his strangest escapades to date as part of the Blood and Wine expansion. The quest can begin by picking up a notice or by stumbling upon a closed exhibition at Lilivia Square. Either way, Geralt will eventually be approached by a distressed man who asks for his assistance on a pretty sensitive matter. That's because it transpires that the genitals of a famous statue have gone missing, and it's up to Geralt to recover them so that the exhibit can be reopened. And with the missing treasured bollocks said to boost the sex drives of whoever holds them, anyone could be a suspect. Following the scent of the perforator's cologne back to their house, Geralt will find an older man having an impassioned affair with a young woman, with the stolen artifact being the cause for his rejuvenated spark. Players must then decide whether to recover the stones or let the man make the most of his newfound mojo. Let him keep them though, and players will return later on to find that the man has died of what can only be described as a bad case of, to be polite, shagging himself silly. Number 8, Fool's Gold. One of the 3 DLC quests added to the game, Fool's Gold can be started in the small village of Lurch, where Geralt will encounter a group of bandits happily roasting a pig that they claim to have caught in a village. One of the locals is devastated by the pig's death, however, and after dispatching the bandits, he'll tell the Witcher about the piggy magic that's taken over the area. Intrigued by the mystery, Geralt's investigations will take him to a sealed temple reached via a portal. Further exploration reveals that the pigs themselves roaming the village are actually the humans said to have gone missing as they were transformed into the animals for stealing cursed gold. With a little help from the remaining villager, Geralt solves this oddball mystery, though the funniest part of the quest comes when first exploring the temple. While there, Geralt encounters one of the pigs who understands what the Witcher says. What follows is a delightfully weird scene in which the monster hunter chats with a pig, and the pig uses grunts to answer yes or no to his questions. He can even feed the hungry pig some food if the player wants to. So yeah, Geralt can now add talking to animals to his extensive list of talents. Number 7, A Frying Pan, Spick and Span. When we first meet Geralt at the start of the game, he's hot on the trail of Yennefer, whose letter leads the monster hunter to the small region of White Orchid. But even with a pressing matter at hand, as well as dealing with a pesky griffin upon arrival, there's no task that's too small for Geralt or the player, including helping a kindly old woman get her frying pan back. If players aren't spurred on by the urgency of Geralt's mission, they can discover said woman by a hut on the riverbank. She'll then tell the Witcher about an odd encounter that she had the night before, in which a stranger asked to borrow her precious pan, but failed to return it. Unable to break into the hut herself, she asks Geralt if he wouldn't mind retrieving the cooking implement for her. Thus begins A Frying Pan, Spick and Span. However, after entering the building, Geralt discovers the scene of a murder alongside alongside a pile of letters written using the soot scraped from the pan. The implication being that the deceased man was a spy. Even this quest journal entry mocks the banality of this task, as retrieving frying pans simply isn't as exciting as slaying monsters, and yet, if we got the quest, we certainly did it anyway. Number 6. The Tower Out of Nowheres. In The Witcher 3, developer CD Projekt's biting satire isn't limited to tackling themes of monsters and men. The writers likewise took this epic fantasy setting and used it to give their thoughts on the gaming industry at large, namely the controversy surrounding digital rights management, or DRM for short. This tongue-in-cheek allegory is the subject of the quest, The Tower Out of Nowheres. In it, Geralt will be informed by a group of disgruntled villagers that the sudden appearance of a tower is the reason for the non-stop storm in the area, and being a witcher, he'll naturally be asked to investigate further. Upon reaching the tower, players discover the tower's newest owner sealed behind a barrier. Talking to him reveals that the tower has a defense regulatory magicon, or DRM for short, that only the tower's original owner can deactivate. The only teensy-wincy problem is that the former owner is now dead. It's therefore up to the Witcher to search for the only means to lift the lock, that being a book known as Gottfried's Omni-Opening Grimoire, or GOG for short, which is, in the real world, a digital store owned by the developers which was against DRM, so that the barrier can be unlocked. So yeah, well played, CD Projekt RED. I have played this mission like twice and I've only just now got the joke. Number 5, Face Me If You Dare. A quest that isn't marked on the map, Face Me If You Dare is one of the easier quests to miss entirely, and it's also one of the game's most hilarious encounters, so please check it out. While traveling through Velen, Geralt can stumble upon an emboldened knight standing near the bridge to Crow's Perch. His name is Ranvid of the Small Marsh, and he's on a quest to slay 100 knights to win the affection of a woman. Though Geralt is sarcastically dismissive of his challenge, Ranvid is insistent, but ultimately proves to be no match for a seasoned monster hunter. However, the knight doesn't give up easily. He can be met again a few days later by the Tretogor Gate with a new shield and even better armor. But still, it takes more than new equipment to best a Witcher, and he goes down again. Still, Ranvid isn't done, and players can meet him a final time in Novigrad, where he's enlisted the help of 2 thugs as backup. Geralt, by now grown increasingly annoyed with the knight's efforts, has the choice to either de-escalate the situation and send him home, or just fight him to the death and get rid of him. Either way, the player won't be dealing with this guy again. Number 4, Portrait of the Witcher as an Old Man. The sunny lands of Tucson may be terrorized by a ferocious vampire, but the Blood and Wine DLC isn't all about bloodshed and massacres. In fact, there are plenty of lighthearted adventures to embark on, like the one we've already mentioned, and one of the better ones is a Portrait of the Witcher as an Old Man. After completing the Warble of a Smitten Knight, head to the market square just south of the Grand Palace signpost, and you'll be approached by an artist who's struck by Geralt's distinctive physique and will want to use him as his next model. If Geralt agrees, he'll be tasked to meet the painter when the light is better, and the pair will travel to a prime location. However, this being a quest, Geralt will need to recover the artist's paints from some thieving neckers before they can properly start. After all that though, players will then be given a choice of how they'd like to immortalize the Witcher through the medium of art. Whether they choose posing on horseback, standing heroically with their sword, or just casually reclining, the outcome will be similar, and that's because Geralt will return the next day to discover that the artist had sneakily painted him with most of his clothes off. And you know what? To be honest, I'd probably have it no other way. Number 3, Paper Chase. The bulk of The Witcher 3's humorous quests send players headfirst into bizarre situations to enjoy some fun in between the more serious plot beats. Paper Chase, however, is a little different. This time, the joke is on the player. Again, part of the Blood and Wine DLC, players can find this quest by talking to a vineyard owner near Trenton's workshop. It turns out that he actually owes Geralt payment from years ago and decided to place the coin in a savings account at the bank, which would have gained a healthy amount of interest by now. All Geralt needs to do, he's told, is walk into the bank and withdraw the funds, but bureaucracy is rarely that simple. And as a result, a clerical error means that the Witcher is forced to chase down various forms in what becomes a perpetual cycle of dead ends and unhelpful tellers. Instead of hunting monsters then, players will spend their time hunting documents, and it's as tedious as you would expect. In this quest, the action-packed gameplay players are used to is replaced by exciting moments, including watching a cat wash itself, getting into an argument about cutting in line, and charming a clerk into speeding things along, like he's in Curb Your Enthusiasm or something. So yeah, this is why witches don't use banks. This is why they take cash payments up front. Number 2, a tome entombed. Located deep within the labyrinth of sewers underneath Novigrad, this side quest is extremely easy to miss. However, a tome entombed is a part of the game that players certainly won't want to skip. While exploring the sewers, players will eventually come across a weak wall next to a sealed gate. Knock it down with Ard and Geralt will find himself in a tomb where he'll be met with a scholar struggling to move the lid on a stone sarcophagus. The stranger will inform Geralt that he's a professor of archaeology from Oxenfurt who has reason to believe that an important lost text resides in this tomb. When helping the academic open the lid though, the pair are greeted by a slumbering vampire who's not too pleased with being disturbed. Still insistent that the tome could still be in the tomb though, perhaps kept under the vampire's pillow for reading, the professor asks Geralt to just have another look. If he agrees, the monster will have had enough of his nonsense and just attack outright, leaving the monster hunter with no choice but to kill the creature for what turns out to be pretty much no reason at all. Number 1, Equine Phantoms. When Geralt encounters a hermit in the Blood and Wine DLC, he's presented with a seemingly unsolvable mystery to hunt down an invisible wraith. To aid his investigation though, the hermit brews the Witcher a special potion containing a potent hallucinogenic said to reveal the unseen. When he awakes after drinking it though, Geralt discovers that a side effect of the potion allows him to talk to animals, including his trusty steed Roach. What follows is a hilarious buddy comedy caper in which the pair set out to solve the contract together. Roach is absolutely the star of the show here. He's a sharp-witted expert on monster hunting, and letting him take the lead makes for a hilarious and refreshing change of pace. Moreover, the quest showcases the writing team at the top of their game. Not only is Equine Phantoms scattered with amusing horse puns, but it also takes the opportunity to poke fun at aspects of the game, such as Roach's ability to materialize from nowhere alongside his unresponsive controls. This quest is simply a delightful experience from start to finish, and when it's over, players will wish that they could spend more time chatting to this unsung equestrian hero. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you guys stumble upon these hilarious quests? And are there any great ones I missed off here? While you're down there as well, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.